A lot of options at quarterback. They could stick with Sam Darnold. They're going to have to pay him or franchise him. Move on to J.J. McCarthy, who really is not throwing a lot of passes. Jim Harbaugh wouldn't let him throw, and then last year he was hurt. I mean, the guy just doesn't throw a lot of passes. Go get a free agent. Star wide receiver Justin Jefferson says doesn't much matter. Luckily, he said, quote, "That ain't my decision. Looking forward to seeing what we're going to do with Sam. JJ's going to have his opportunity. I'm always confident in myself. Don't matter who's going to be throwing the ball. I'm going to make a play for sure." Obviously, the free agent quarterbacks that stand out are, you have Darnold, you have Rodgers, you have others. Greg, what do you think the Vikings should do at quarterback?
Well, obviously, you're going to give JJ an opportunity. You got
to start?
Yeah, you're going to give him an opportunity. You drafted this young man believing in his ability and who he is and what he can bring to your franchise at the quarterback position. He can run outside the pocket. He can extend plays. He can make every throw that you want him to make. I'm a big Michigan fan. I'm with you. We didn't see that at Michigan with Jim Harbaugh in the style of offense that he plays. But with what we were able to see with Sam Darnold, which you doubted, and Wilds doubted for a period of time as well, and everybody waited for him to turn pumpkin. Like, why would I not believe that he can do this same thing with a young, more talented, with more ability, J.J. McCarthy, if he's healthy? If he's healthy, absolutely, we're gonna see J.J. McCarthy moving forward with the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, go ahead, Coach.
What I read recently is that McCarthy's on track to be participating in OTAs, and as much as it's disappointing that he got hurt, there is still a big difference between your first year and your second year, and we lose track of that as you know, on the outside looking in, whether it's getting used to the playbook, the coaches, the town, the process of playing pro football. He's had a year to do all that. Now, he didn't get the same level of field work, but at least he's adjusted to pro football. Now he's going to be back healthy. Organizationally, you want him to be successful. Now, after him, and Sam Darnold said a lot of great things about what they were able to do to unlock his potential. So I would imagine that with McCarthy, you have that same opportunity to turn him into something potentially special. So organizationally, the priority should be McCarthy, and then you get somebody, if that doesn't work out the way you want, that can hopefully, you know, put you in a position to win games.
So you guys are letting Darnold walk?
Yeah.
I think I'm franchising him or offering him a 2-year deal with the second year is like a team option or something. Like, I'm not paying him huge money, but maybe franchise him and then let them fight it out. And maybe McCarthy's not ready. You know, I'm not sure.
That you don't think his end of season put such a sour taste?
It definitely put a sour taste, but he went from essentially nothing to last year, you know, a very good season.
Fringe MVP
you might be thinking, maybe he can now take that next step and start playing with the pressure and stuff. And maybe McCarthy beats him out. That's why I only want to do a 1-year deal franchise tag. But I just feel like I'm not ready to just hand it to J.J. McCarthy and say now the franchise.
This is where I'm going to lean on what Coach said about Kyle Shanahan in the last segment, or just a minute ago about Brock Purdy. KO has the best seat understanding what he's dealing with. Kevin O'Connell. He's seen Sam Darnold. To your point, what we saw at the end of the season, he got Coach of the Year. He had his team in a position to be successful, to make a deep playoff run. And where did they fall short? At the quarterback position.
I also think, Greg, they were ready to hand this to J.J. McCarthy as a rookie.
See, I
think they were.
You don't think so?
See, eventually, yes.
I think last year he was going to be a starter at some point. Maybe not week one.
No question. At some point, that was always the plan.
Yeah. Can I say one other
That was not always the
thing
plan.
it's kind of on topic, but not really? I thought of it reading the Justin Jefferson quote. Justin Jefferson might be the league's only force multiplier receiver. Justin Jefferson has the exact mentality Coach wants quarterbacks to have about their receivers. Don't matter who's out there. You're paying me. I'll be the star. Like, I'll get.
Okay, but you know what? Lots of wide receivers think that way. Okay. Let's talk about this. I do believe that Kevin O'Connell, right? That's why I've said in every single Vikings video, it's in Kevin O'Connell you trust. Like, that's why you pay him. That's why you you have the offensive head coach to be the foundation of your franchise, because he's ultimately the one that you're going to trust. If you're the owner, you're the GM, etc., like that, you're paying him for his expertise to make that decision. And you say, Kevin, I will do what you say. Like that is your expertise. You know? And I think it was very obvious that Sam Darnold was starting this whole season. I mean, if you listen to Kevin O'Connell, the interviews that he was giving, the things that he was saying, every time they kept talking about JJ, he kept saying, Sam. I made videos before they even took a snap where I was like, guys, Sam Darnold's going to be starting. And then when JJ got injured, I was like, guys, this is not actually affecting this season because Sam Darnold is the starter. He's going to play. He is going to play, you know? And then obviously they won. And again, it's so annoying how every Minnesota Vikings video, we have to now just be like, oh, well, they were limited at the quarterback position, and that was the problem. Again, just look at the Super Bowl. Look how the season ended. Patrick Mahomes getting sacked 6 times, throwing interceptions, looking lost, confused, playing bad. The quarterback wasn't good enough. There was a limitation at the quarterback position. You could say that. I'm not saying that that's the actual analysis of what happened to the Kansas City Chiefs, but you can make that argument. And if you're going to make that argument about Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings this season, then you would have to make the argument about that for the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, this is what everyone keeps getting, I shouldn't say everyone, a lot of people lose sight of, but most people don't. We're talking about this season. That's why what someone like a Patrick Mahomes or even Sam Darnold did in years past is irrelevant. We're talking about how this season unfolded. Where were the pros? Where were the cons? What you did in 22, 23, 2019, whatever, it's 1,000% irrelevant. 1,000% irrelevant. It just is. It just is. So, because again, otherwise you would be looking at the Kansas City Chiefs and say, oh, if they had a better quarterback, they would have been able to deal with that pressure better and wouldn't have taken all those sacks and et cetera, et cetera. So just don't be so quick to jump and say that Sam Darnold was this limiting factor. Because I just don't believe that to be the case. I just don't. And I think Kevin O'Connell, as much as I just praised him, deserves, legitimate blame. Legitimate blame. And their inability to adapt from the last game against the Lions to their truly last game at the in the playoffs against the Rams. Like, to me, that was more on Kevin O'Connell than Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold didn't do enough to succeed in that moment either. Again, neither did Patrick Mahomes. Again, just a reality. It's just a reality. And I hate how, today I've had to bring up Patrick Mahomes so much. It's because it's just a perfect example that when you see such a gold standard player lose, in a lot of ways, very similarly to what happened to Sam Darnold, you're kind of like, it should put things in context for you a little bit. It should put things in perspective a little bit, where you should go, what does it mean if Patrick Mahomes wasn't able to overcome it in that situation? And again, stop your mind from immediately going to, yeah, but we know how great he is. He's won Super Bowls and this, that. Yeah, in different situations. It's one thing if we've seen him overcome the similar situation that he was in against the Philadelphia Eagles and still win. Then you could say, yeah, that was just one of those games that he couldn't do it. But we've seen him do it all. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Now, again, just like I said in my Brock Purdy Mahomes video, I'm not arguing that Sam Darnold is better than Patrick Mahomes or that they're equal even. Like, I'm not making those arguments. I'm still picking Patrick Mahomes over Sam Darnold every single day of the week. But what I'm just trying to so desperately emphasize is that when we're talking about these quarterbacks, it's more complicated than we give credit to. And it can't just be, well, they came up short. Sam Darnold was sacked a lot. He didn't look too great in those final 2 games. He's a limiting factor. Let's go. Move on. It's just not that simple. And it's just not that simple as, yeah, Patrick Mahomes didn't play great in the Super Bowl, but he's already won MVPs and Super Bowls before. So he's not the problem. He deserves the benefit of the doubt. It's like, maybe. Maybe. Does he deserve some of the benefit of the doubt? Sure. Does he deserve all the benefit of the doubt? No. Because under that same logic, then we downplay what other quarterbacks do special. Like people downplaying what Jalen Hurts did in that Super Bowl. Because when the moments that Patrick Mahomes was unable to overcome the pressure, even when he had a second to be able to be like, hey, I'm a quarterback, I can do something now, he did not succeed. Compare that to Jalen Hurts. When Jalen Hurts had the moment where he's like, hey, I have a second here, I get to make a decision, what do I do here? He succeeded. And so if we're constantly giving these other quarterbacks the benefit of the doubt, then we downplay what some of these other accomplishments are. And on the flip side, if we constantly just want to use someone's history as a reference point, then in a situation with Sam Darnold, we now downplay every other great thing he did throughout the entire season. Like that's somehow just a gimme. Like all the wins, all the high moments that he had, that he was a fringe MVP candidate and all that, we just throw that all out. And that doesn't really make sense either. And I'm going to make a separate video because it's something that now that we're talking about this so much, and I think there's a little bit more room to kind of just like let the mind wander and think about some of these things in terms of like, how do we reach conclusions about quarterbacks? Because now we're just kind of talking, right? We don't have to worry about like who the Vikings playing on Sunday or something. So you just kind of have a little bit more room to kind of contemplate this stuff. And I'm going to do a separate video about that. And just talk about all the quarterbacks as a whole and how we go about evaluating them and what do all these things mean? Because it's not an easy thing. And it is. It's a moving target. It's like sometimes you really want to hold a quarterback's past, hold their feet to the fire. Other times you want to let it go. And it's like, I'm still trying to figure out like, when are we willing to do that? When are we not? What does a quarterback have to be able to do in a given moment? When do we say, well, it's not his fault? When do we credit coaching? When do we credit the receivers, the run game, the defense? Like it's complicated. It really is. Again, if it was easy, then these coaches would have all there would be no question. If Kevin O'Connell is still wrestling with this decision, like who are we to not continue to wrestle with this decision? That's the way how I look at it. That's the way how I look at it. If literally the brilliant top, offensive minds, quarterback minds, coaching minds, GMs, whatever, if they're still wrestling with some of this stuff, and if they still make mistakes with like the quarterback that they decide to start, draft, whatever, it's like, because sometimes I get so frustrated. I'm like, why can't I, figure out my own formula that I can be confident in every single thing? And I'm like, well, if I had that, then these NFL teams would pay me millions of dollars to share it with them. So it's a tricky situation. It really, really is. But I think the Vikings are in a decent situation because, again, at the end of the day, you have a head coach who is most likely going to make the right decision more often than not. Doesn't mean he's always going to make the right decision. Doesn't mean that he's perfect. Doesn't mean that he's still not learning, in terms of what all this stuff means. But he's more likely to make the right decision than not at a higher clip. And so to me, that is where the trust lies if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan. Because in videos like this, I always feel like I'm speaking directly to a fan base in terms of like, how are you supposed to feel in this moment? And I did see a lot of Vikings fans just completely jump ship on Sam Darnold. 1 minute, he was the hero. The next minute, it's nope. Welcome, JJ. And there's just no guarantee that JJ does anything remotely. And now when I'm saying JJ, I'm saying JJ McCarthy, not Justin Jefferson. JJ McCarthy, there's no guarantee that he can do, that he reaches Sam Darnold's ceiling even. Because the whole idea is, well, Sam Darnold wasn't that good. He played great with the Vikings. Therefore, JJ McCarthy will be great. And it's like, that's a great story. Doesn't make it a reality. And again, I think JJ McCarthy will be great with the Vikings. I do. I really, really do. So again, I'm not arguing that Sam Darnold will have a better career than JJ, this, that. My whole argument here is just kind of like, we shouldn't be so quick to jump to any of these conclusions, especially if the Minnesota Vikings aren't even so quick to jump to these conclusions. Like, to me, that's the most telling point. That Kevin O'Connell doesn't even have this answer right now. And the Minnesota Vikings. That is the most telling thing. That is the most telling thing. So a conversation like this gets a little messy, honestly. And we're in the situation of having conversations that I don't particularly like, that I don't particularly enjoy, because we're trying to predict what the future will be. And I don't love that. Trying to figure out what, should Sam Darnold be the quarterback? Will JJ be the quarterback? And it's frustrating. I can make this whole video and I could say, Sam Darnold needs to be the quarterback. He's the best, yada, yada, yada. And I go on the whole rant. And then the next day, it's Vikings are moving on from Sam Darnold. Then it feels like a waste to me. I rather know what the outcome is. They're going to stick with Sam, or they're going to move on from JJ, and then we unpack, was that the right move? To me, because now you still get to debate what was the right move, but at least we have evidence of what they're doing. This is now just completely trying to predict, and it's just, I don't know. I still, personally, for me, I still kind of struggle with those conversations. Like I always say, I enjoy post-game more than pre-game analysis. I like to evaluate what we just saw and what does it all mean, rather than trying to predict what we will see, because it's unpredictable. But there's obviously a lot of that throughout the offseason, so it just is what it is. Yeah. I know I'm a little I know just from all my Minnesota Vikings videos that the fans, the vast majority, like 90+%, they want the JJ McCarthy era to unfold. And so that's also always in the back of my mind anytime I'm talking about Sam Darnold or defending Sam Darnold, because I know I'm making a video about Sam Darnold to a fan base that's like, that's great, we want JJ McCarthy. And the truth is, there's not enough of JJ McCarthy to really go off of, which is then what always leads me to the next logic of the line of thinking, where it's like, and now we have Kevin O'Connell not even going to JJ McCarthy just yet, which then makes me think, like, so then where are we with all of this? The Minnesota Vikings are in a tricky sports talk purgatory right now. I think they're going to be in a great place no matter what decision they make moving forward. But in terms of like the conversations surrounding all of this, from my viewpoint, are incredibly messy. And it's been because it's like I'm always working it out in real time, and it's kind of just like, because again, like, this is kind of perfect. I mean, like, look what, the way how I know what I'm saying, there's truth to this, because look what Justin Jefferson is saying. I mean, this statement doesn't even necessarily make sense. Looking forward to seeing what we're going to do with Sam. ... JJ is going to have his opportunity, but I'm always confident in myself. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to do with Sam. Okay, so does that mean you're going to stick with Sam, or you're going to give him a deal? Like, you're looking forward to it. So, like, what are you going to do? And then he says, JJ is going to have his opportunity. It's like, those statements aren't necessarily compatible with each other. So now you have your wide receiver one kind of not really making a whole lot of sense. Then he says, but I'm always confident in myself. Doesn't matter who's throwing the ball. I'm going to make a play for sure. It's kind of like, okay, like, so I don't know. It's messy, man. It is. There's really no way to slice it, which is why if you see me struggling, trying to wrestle with this topic right now, it's because I am, honestly. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? What do you think the Minnesota Vikings should do? And do you think this situation is becoming a little bit more complicated than it needed to be? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.